Hello everyone, welcome back to Chinmoy's Biology channel to a yet another very interesting episode of evolution of breathing. That is how from fish to humans our respiratory organs have gone through a phase of evolution. Today we are going to discuss that. So this is quite a general topic for discussion. If you are interested to this topic, please don't skip in the middle. Please stay tuned till the end of today's episode as it is going to be a very interesting one. So without further delay, let's get started with evolution of breathing. So how it started? So the beginning started with the gills in fish. So early vertebrates like fish, they relied on gills to extract oxygen from water. Now gills, they are highly efficient organ which are only extracting the oxygen from the water using the counter current exchange mechanism to maximize the oxygen absorption in the blood. So this is how they are doing or absorbing the oxygen from the water to the blood. So that is a counter current exchange mechanism. Now breathing began in water as it started from fish, and fish were the first vertebrates to develop the specialized structures for breathing. So these are the gills or the specialized organs we know, and they use gills to extract the dissolved oxygen from water, and a highly efficient, that is a highly efficient system for aquatic system. Is it clear to everyone? Now we will move on how from the gills, from the fish to the amphibians to the reptiles to the mammals, how the breathing process evolution happened. Now, primitive lungs in ancient fish is another evolution from the gills to the lungs. Some ancient fish like coelacanths and lungfish, they developed primitive lungs. So these adaptations they developed, they had helped them to survive in oxygen depleted water. So some water which didn't have any oxygen, that they used to engulf water by gulping air from the surface. So that is how they had lungs. So coelacanth and lungfish, they developed actually primitive lungs through evolution. And so lung development in ancient fish, they were actually, in addition to gills, they were not only gills, but in addition to that they had this primitive lungs. These lungs allowed to survive in oxygen poor water as well as the water where no oxygen was there. So this is uh, gradually some primitive, we can say some frogs also, they had primitive lungs, and this is the lungfish which actually had primitive lungs which helped them to survive in oxygen depleted waters, right? So they used to engulf air from the surface as well. So after fishes, we come to amphibians. They are having dual breathing systems, and amphibians was the first vertebrates to transit to land. So from water, the fishes were the first vertebrates, and in land, the amphibians were the first vertebrates to transit to land, and they breathe through both skin and simple lungs. They allows the gas exchange in moist environment. They used for air breathing on the land. So how this happened, the evolution of amphibians? So amphibians such as frogs, they marked the transition from water to land. They can breathe through their skin, that is cutaneous respiration, and use simple lungs for breathing air. So as the skin is also used as a respiratory organ, that is cutaneous respiration, then it comes to the lungs which is taking in oxygen from the air, and it is simple lungs, and a dual system is adapted for both the aquatic and terrestrial. So in when they are in underwater, they are using the skin, and when they are on land, they are using the lungs. So they are using a dual adaptive system which is both for aquatic and terrestrial environments. Now comes the reptiles. So reptiles are also evolving the land adaptation. So what reptiles are doing? Reptiles, they develop more advanced lungs with folded internal structures. You can see this is the amphibian lung, and this is the reptile lung with more foldings in the internal structure. So increasing the surface area for gas exchange, and this evolution marked a shift towards the complete reliance on air breathing. So as there is more curves or internal foldings, what is there? The surface area is more, and so therefore more absorption of oxygen is there for the reptiles when they are breathing on the land. So this is the land adaptation. Now reptiles, they evolved more complex lungs with increased surface area, I've told it earlier, allowing them to depend solely on air breathing, and this adaptation supported their fully terrestrial lifestyle. Like lizards and also they are adapted to full land lifestyle, so terrestrial lifestyle. So for that they are fully equipped with the lungs which are capable of absorbing more and more oxygen from air, okay, for our air breathing. Now next, after amphibians, we come to birds. Birds, although they are not directly linked to human evolution, they have one-way air flow system through their lungs, providing continuous oxygen exchange during both inhalation and exhalation. Okay, so this is ideal for high energy activities like flying and all. So you can see the a bird is inhaling oxygen, the air sacs are present here, then here the lungs are present. Okay, so these are also air sacs. So there is a continuous airflow system through the lungs, and it is always one way airflow system, and it is not directly linked to human, but it is almost similar to that of human, that is also a one flow air system. Okay, so now we will move on to the next one. So after this birds, we know that we human beings are having lungs, and this diaphragm in mammals is a evolution of the diaphragm in mammals made breathing more efficient by helping expand and contract the lungs with less effort. So how the diaphragms in mammals they evoluted, there was an evolution, and these diaphragm, these are the muscles which helped in both inspiration and expiration, creating the effort of the lungs much less. So they help to expand and contract the lungs with much less effort. So what happened in mammals? The diaphragms evolved as a muscle to assist in breathing by creating a vacuum that draws the airs into the lungs, making the process more energy efficient. So this made the process more energy efficient, and the lungs, they from creating a vacuum inside, it draws the air from outside, and it makes the process much easier and much energy efficient. So this is the function of diaphragm, and which actually it came through evolution process in mammals only. Okay, so previously in mammals we didn't have diaphragm, but gradually through evolution it came, and it made our respiration or breathing process much easier. Now, vestigial structures in humans, what are those? In human respiratory system still carries traces of our evolutionary past. For instance, hiccups are believed to be remnant of our amphibian ancestors. Primitive breathing reflex. So hiccups, we while eating, when we are unconscious, when we are eating while talking, we get hiccups. So that is actually our ancestors had this as primitive breathing reflex. So these are actually remnant of amphibian ancestors, and these hiccups are actually a vestige of evolution. So what is a vestige of evolution? That is, they have actually become vestigial, that they are not quite required, but they have still the traces of the ancestors. So they have a trace back to the primitive amphibian breathing reflexes, and amphibians like frog, they used to exhibit a similar gulping pattern to fill their lungs. So as they used to fill their lungs in gulping pattern like that, only when we are short of breath, when something gets stuck in our nasopharynx region, so that larynx or pharynx region, we will actually start getting hiccups. So that is called vestige of evolution, right? So that is how we can say that these are the vestigial structures that are still present in humans. Now here comes the genetic blueprint of the lungs. So what is that? Studies show that the genetic pathways of developing lungs and gills share common origins, highlighting the evolutionary connection between the aquatic, that is fish, and the terrestrial breathing. Okay, so there is a common pathway, evolutionary connection between the aquatic and the terrestrial breathing. Like lungfish is a living fossil, that is, it is still existing today, but it is an ancient thing, lungfish. So what is a modern lungfish doing? A modern lungfish can switch between the gill and the lung breathing, showcasing a living example of the transitional phase in respiratory evolution. So it is the gills and it is the lungs. It can switch from the cells to the lungs to the muscles, and from outside it is taking it to the gills and then to the lungs and then to the muscles. Okay, so it is actually showcasing a living example of transitional phase between respiratory evolution. Right? Now we should know what is a living fossil, as we have discussed in the previous slide that lungfish is a living fossil. So the term living fossil was coined by Charles Darwin in 1859 in his publication on the origin of species. A living fossil in an existing organism, it closely resembles an extinct organism that is otherwise known only from the fossil evidence, but it is actually existing and it is resembling an organism that is known from the fossil evidence. So like that, the lungfish is one of the living fossil example which is existing till now, but it is having the characteristics of a primitive fossil. Okay, so due to adaptation to the environment over time, living fossils do not retain the primitive features of their ancestors. Their behavior and the survival instinct are too much more advanced. So what the lungfish has now done, it has started transforming between gills and lungs. So it is using both that. So primitive lungfish was using only gills, but the new lungfish which is existing today, the living fossil, is using both the gills and the lungs. So what they are doing, they have the survival instincts which are much more advanced than their ancestors. Is it clear to everyone? Now we will move on to the last part of today's episode. Hope you have liked this. So let us stay tuned till the last part. So human evolution, how it happened. So efficient lungs were formed, human lungs with millions of alveoli which provide a vast structure to have a vast surface area for oxygen exchange, and this supports our high metabolism and energy requirements which are essential for both the brain function and the physical activity. Okay, the shift from gills to lungs, the genetic and the molecular pathways for developing gills and lungs share similarities, suggesting a common evolutionary origin, and this supports the idea that lungs evolved in an adaptation to survive oxygen scarce aquatic environments before becoming as crucial for land dwelling life. So this is how there was a genetic shift from molecular pathways of developing gills to lungs, because it was of evolutionary origin. This supported the lungs due to adaptation to survive to oxygen scarce aquatic animals, as well as for land dwelling life it was very crucial. So this is how the evolution of gills to lungs, it actually happened slowly but through several stages, and it was quite a long process of evolution, from vertebrates, fish, to amphibians, to reptiles, to birds, to humans, to the production, the evolution of the diaphragm and all. So all this happened gradually but not instantly. So this was a long process, and this is how we wanted to describe the process of evolution of gills to lungs. So this is today's episode. Hope you have liked this episode. If you want interesting topics like this, please stay tuned to my channel and stay subscribed for more interesting topics like this, as well as I keep on teaching certain lessons also from 7 to 12 CBSE and ICSE curriculum. Stay tuned, stay updated with all the lessons which I am posting. Thank you. Thanks a lot for watching.